11 a.m. right here for a senior moment on the legendary Powered 96.5 FM.
Good morning, Buffalo. You're tuned into Eastside Parkways Radio on WUFO Power 96.5 FM, 1080 AM. The show where we connect the dots between people, policy, and the places we call home. I'm your host for today, India Walton. It's been a big week across New York State. Voters from Buffalo to Syracuse to New York made history in the 2025 mayoral elections. Today, we're going to talk about what those results mean for our communities, for transportation, and for the long-fought effort to remove the highways that have divided us for generations. I'm joined here today by Miss Betty Jean Grant and by Steve, and they kind of let me off the leash today, y'all. So there's nobody with the shepherd's hook to pull me offline if I get a little bit spicy. So I want you to call in, join me on the show, 837-1112, and give me some of your reflections from the past elections, but also your hope for the future. We have a new mayor for the first time in almost 20 years. So how do you hope this administration is going to go? We have a transition team that's been announced. What are your thoughts on that? To me, it seems like a very capable bunch of people, but no big surprises. So let's discuss. But before we dive in, a big thank you again to the Pilates Lab, our sponsor for this week, for keeping our community strong, balanced, and flexible, both in body and in purpose. I went to Pilates at the Pilates Lab yesterday, and let me tell you, after walking all those miles in New York City and knocking on all those doors, it was just what my body needed.
Where is it located?
It's on Allen Street. I don't know the address though, but we'll figure it out. I'll Google it. Okay. I'll Google it and share. But let's start here at home, right in Buffalo. Senator Sean Ryan is our next mayor, and he won convincingly with more than 70% of the vote. Now, that's a lot more than a landslide. Like, that's an avalanche. And down the road in Syracuse, they have their first black woman mayor, in Sharon Owens. And Sharon Owens is really interesting to me because that's our colleague city where the I-81 is being removed. And Mayor-elect Owens said that she is committed to making this a justice issue and not just a transportation project. So that's encouraging. And then down in New York City, and I'm sorry, y'all, I apologize. I know, listen, I'm a Buffalo girl through and through, but y'all know I'm beaming and gleaming when I talk about New York City and the election in New York City. I spent last week down there knocking on doors and campaigning with Zohran Mamdani, and he won big, beating out former Governor Andrew Cuomo. We've shared organizing spaces. He came to Buffalo and campaigned for me in 2021. I went down with some colleagues from Roots Action and Our City Action Buffalo. And for me, his win just shows what's really possible. And we had talked a little bit about politics in our city and why it seems to be so difficult for us to really get true grassroots candidates. And even though we have a lot of hope in Mayor-elect Ryan's administration, he's still been in elected office. He held office before, and we see people sort of shuffling positions, and we don't see a lot of newness in our politics. So we've been having some conversations about why that is and what we can do about it, and also just wanting our elected officials to be more forthcoming about their positions. All right, where are you on the Humboldt Expressway project? What are your values and thoughts and beliefs on that? So again, we're going to talk about our hopes and dreams for this new administration that's coming in here in Buffalo under Mayor-elect Ryan, and some thoughts about the elections that happened across the state. Rochester reelected Mayor Malik Evans, but there's also great development going on in Rochester around the inner loop. So call in and share some thoughts with us, 837-1112.
Well, I saw the transition team, the lineup, and I kind of, this is Betty Jean, for those who don't know, because you see me on Facebook. I kind of was hopeful. Some of the people were selected I agree with, and I know they're going to do good for Buffalo. But I would like to see more new faces, more new voices, and maybe that will come down the line. Because sometimes when you get people who are in position as our gatekeepers, it kind of decision comes from them and not coming from the people. So I like to have maybe the transition team have meetings in the community to get opinions, recommendations from we the people. And so I'm hoping that happens this time, because I know a lot of times transition team kind of speak for themselves, but not necessarily for the community at large. That's just my take on it.
And so we always aim to educate. So let's talk a little bit about what a transition team is. People who are on transition teams are, by and large, are volunteers. These are not paid positions. These are people who are subject matter experts in their fields. Some of the people I'm most excited about to see on the transition team are Eva Hassett, Jesse Fisher, folks who I know very, not to leave anybody out. I think there's like Dr. Taylor. Yep. There's 65 people on the team, so we obviously can't name all of them, but there are lots of very community-minded people who do great work. So I'm excited about that. And also Brandy Baird. I think that there are some folks who are like on the younger side who I was surprised to see named to the team. So I'm encouraged by that. We'll see how this goes. I think now we have 56 days or something until the transition is going to happen. So I mean, if people are listening and you are interested in helping make the city better, submit your resume. I think this is a fresh start for all of us, and like there's so many talents and perspectives that are going to be required to really get the city moving in the direction that we want it to go in. So it's important that we all participate, and don't forget the Charter Commission is also still happening.
For those, I got a link yesterday from somewhere that said if you want to apply for energy jobs and the Ryan administration, you can apply online.
They do have a website. I'm gonna have to do some Googling. Can we play a song or something so I can Google the address to the Pilates lab and then find the website for the transition?
Or maybe Steve can do the documentary. Talk about the documentary.
Oh, we can do that too. All right, Steve, talk about the documentary.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm usually behind the camera. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and with Stephen McKinley Henderson, the wonderful actor who lives in Buffalo, we just completed the elevator speeches, a brief history of white on black racism in America over the last 400 or so years, and what we can try and do as individuals and as a society to make things less unequal, to make things where there isn't so much extraction from the East Side, for example, as opposed to support, and making the East Side healthier is better for all of us all over the area. Mm-hmm. And that's something that that seems like far too many people don't believe or don't expect, and some of the history that we forget or that we live through but we don't even remember. Like, for example, there's the year that the first federal anti-lynching law was passed in the United States, and most people guess, it was probably a lot sooner, more recent than we would think. And people guess the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, maybe sometimes. And I'll bet that everyone listening right now was alive when it was signed into law. It was brought up for votes, for consideration, more than 220 times. The first time it was brought to the Congress was 1900. Mm-hmm. It was passed into law 3 years ago, 2022. It was signed on March 29th, and there are 3 sitting U.S. senators that voted against it. So we've got a lot of work to do, and especially speaking as a white person here, my people have a lot of work to do to not only undo the unfairness and the thievery, but also to stop being in the way, to make it so that the Humboldt Parkway isn't a cancer alley, so that I've used to take the 33 all the time because that's fast, right? And it turns out that it takes me a lot less time to get home from downtown if I take city streets.
Wow.
And the destruction. The city of Buffalo was one of the 8 wealthiest cities in the world 125 years ago.
Yeah.
Where did all that wealth go? And frankly, things are, the city has had to hit bottom probably 20, 30, 40 years ago, and slowly coming back. But now with the new mayor and with, there's so much potential here that if people look at how can I make money from it, it's very different from how can we have a better, more equitable living for all of us?
How do we get justice, right? There's a saying that change is inevitable and justice is not, right? So we know that things are changing. We know that something is going to happen, but whether we get justice out of it is what our priorities are. And that's the reason why, Eastside Parkways Coalition has been fighting for so hard and so long, right? It's not that we're anti anything, right? We're pro making sure that justice is done and that there's equity in the projects and that people who have survived that the atrocity of Robert Moses's transportation dreams are able to thrive in this new economy, and as we see things begin to shift and change. And
can I say something
Yeah,
about
you can.
Robert Moses? His dream was to build all these expressways for people who owned cars, wealthy people, and he's on the record many, many times being a virulent racist and virulently against anyone that wasn't wealthy. And he was one of the most powerful people in as far as designing not only the city of New York and Long Island, but Buffalo, that we're now trying with the Eastside Parkways Coalition and with politics to make it so that some of those abominations that literally are killing people can be remedied. That can the parkway system that Frederick Law Olmsted designed was a treasure for the world. We destroyed it, and now we've got a chance to maybe bring it back and make it so that you can live better, and that's something that we've got to do.
And I say that as one of the reasons people probably say, "What's the elephant in the room?" My election. One of the reasons, not the main reason, why I decided to throw my hat into the ring in the election just passed, because of Humboldt Parkway, because of the restoration of Humboldt Parkway. At that time, no politician had committed to restoring Humboldt Parkway. I think that situation is still there. And so among other issues, I ran to be sure that the priority of the health of people that live on Humboldt Parkway remained first and forefront. And I think Michael Gaynor had one of those as his main reasons for running as well. And I think that we need to really, regardless of the outcome of the election, we need to focus on the restoration of Humboldt Parkway and have our elected officials take ownership of ensuring that the people of Humboldt Parkway's health, that their health will remain, not remain stable, but improve to the point where they can breathe clean air, fresh air, and not have to worry about being sick or maybe dying from the expressway. So I'll say the issue of Humboldt Parkway is still out there. We still need people to call us. We need people to write letters to the news. We need them to lobby our elected officials, those who were elected newly and those who are still in office, to ensure them that the restoration of Humboldt Parkway is still priority number one for the Eastside Parkways Coalition.
That's right. And one thing that was encouraging to me was I heard Senator, now Mayor-elect Ryan, say on multiple occasions that, the goal was for a child to be able to ride their bike from Humboldt Parkway, from MLK to Delaware Park, and that's how we know that project would be a success. And I know he has a good relationship with the governor, and we've been trying to speak with Governor Hochul for quite some time and make our case unsuccessfully. Interesting anecdote is we were in New York canvassing, and when we returned back from the canvass, someone said the governor is at a bar in Astoria. So we all went down to the Bills Backers Bar, and we were able to take a photo with Kathy Hochul. But the funniest
And you
part,
posted on Facebook too, because I saw it.
yeah, and Nathan had his Eastside Parkways Coalition T-shirt on, so hopefully that'll get the governor's attention. And we're a fun bunch. We don't come in hot. We come in in a very loving way, just wanting to share the information and ideas that we have. And I think that one thing I look forward to seeing right now is a politic that is more open to other viewpoints and other opinions, and that's not so myopic and closed-minded that people feel like their voices can't be heard. So I did find the website for the transition team, if folks are interested in finding more about that. It is called buildabetterbuffalo.com. That's a great domain. So buildabetterbuffalo.com. You can go and read up all about the transition team, but you can also submit your resume if you have an interest in serving in city government, and there's a bunch of capacities in which you can do that. So I encourage folks to do that. And also, I promised I would Google the address to the Pilates lab, and it is 166 Allen Street. So check out Beth and her team over at the Pilates lab. And also make sure you check out Eastside Parkways Coalition, our social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And also visit our website at www.eastsideparkwayscoalition.org. And we're looking to continue our radio half hour. So we're looking for sponsors. If you want to have myself or Candace do a 1-minute spiel on your business, reach out to Eastside Parkways Coalition and become a co-sponsor of this show, where we aim to equip, empower, and educate folks, on the issue of the Humboldt Parkway restoration, but also on issues of civics in general. I think that it's beginning to become more of a topic of interest since we see our federal government going the way it's going. We're not a C3 yet, right? So I can say, like, the federal government's on fire. Okay, so since the federal government's on fire, I think that people are beginning to realize that being civically engaged means a lot more than just participating during presidential election years, because now our safety nets are going to come from our municipal, county, and state government. So it's important to be engaged and involved at those levels of government also. And especially when it comes to big infrastructure projects, right? We're talking about $1.2 billion being invested in the East Side. So are we going to see that wealth be transferred to the people who are already at the top, or are we going to see the potential for people who are living in poverty in Buffalo to be lifted up out of those conditions, because this level of investment is able to do that for folks? So we want to make sure that justice is done as we look to
And Chris, you got a question on Facebook, but you need to rephrase it. I'm not understanding what you're asking. So if you want me to read it, please type it over.
India, you were talking about the Buffalo billion or several billion, and that would go for remunerating the destruction that was done 30, 40 years ago by putting in the 33 Expressway and destroying the Humboldt Parkway. But it's also that money would restore the city streets that used to be vibrant places of commerce and of being able to, within a few blocks of wherever you were on the east side, you could get all the services you needed. And when the Kensington Expressway, the 33, was put in, it disrupted the traffic patterns so that the businesses, locally owned businesses, were thriving. And the Humboldt was destroyed, and that destroyed the whole complex of commerce in the area. And when you live and work and own and buy locally, that makes a huge difference. And so that money that would go initially to doing the construction would really have striking and wonderful benefits to get Buffalo back to where it was 120 years ago as far as economically, and hopefully a lot more racially fair.
Hopefully.
I have a question. Since you was in New York City, did you see that Halloween a parade?
I did see the Halloween
Who was
parade.
with those big people with the brooms?
So New York City is a weird place. I mean, it's wonderful, but first of all, I had never been to a parade at nighttime before. But I guess it's just like because everyone lives in apartment buildings, they bring their kids out, right? And they like trick or treat on the street instead of like going house to house, and they have like block parties and parades. It was very interesting. I did see the giant people on the stilts. I also it was the New York Marathon while we were there, so we saw that. It was a really fun it was a fun time to be there, but I can tell you that the energy around that campaign was so electric. It reminded me like of 2021,
your
but
campaign.
Yeah, but like 1,000 times
Right.
bigger.
Let me just say one thing I saw. I know he ran on the. No, he voted on the working families line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he run on that line as well?
He was both. He ran as both on the
he
both
voted-
Democrat and Working Families line.
Okay, so
he also won the primary. He won the primary in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So would that elevate the Working Families Party to another level?
Well, the Working Families Party in New York is a little bit different than our chapter, but I think it will elevate them to a higher. And one of the things that they did was with the ranked choice voting was they were able to broker a deal where the people on the Working Families Party slate was like, okay, rank me number 1, but then rank Zoran number 2. Or rank me number 1, but then rank Brad number 2. So they, even though they were opponents in the same race, they still worked together. There was one point where he had raised so much money, he couldn't raise any more money, and he was telling his supporters to donate to other candidates.
Wow. So
The level of cooperation is like nothing that I've ever seen before.
Let's look at Buffalo last election, minus this one. You won as Democratic Socialist. That was your label.
You know what? I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat, right? And when I'm doing interviews most recently, and what I've been seeing people in this narrative, right? People are using socialist as a stain because they're too cowardly to call you what they really want to call you.
Yeah.
Right? You really want to say that you don't want to vote for me because I'm a black woman, not because I'm a socialist. Because socialists got you indoor plumbing, municipal sewer systems, hospital, school, Social Security, SNAP benefits. That's what socialism got you,
Medicare.
right? So while you're afraid of socialism for poor people, you cheer when we give Elon Musk $956 million of taxpayer dollars, and that makes absolutely no sense to me.
He's a trillionaire now.
He's a trillionaire now. So socialism really is a word that people are using it's a dog whistle that they're using to substitute the other things that they are afraid of that they don't feel at liberty to say, right? You're afraid of Zohran Mamdani because he's a brown Muslim man, not because he's a socialist. I'm a nurse. I've never caused harm to a person in my entire life, and they use it as a way to villainize you without saying the quiet part out loud.
Former mayor used that quite frequently in the last election. Beth Walls, our sponsor, said, "I hope Mayor-elect Ryan doesn't only mean bike path connect MLK and Delaware Park. He means the kids could ride on a parkway, right?" So she was asking, does he mean the parkway or the path?
We would have to ask him that, and I invite Mayor-elect to come on the show and talk about what his vision is as mayor of Buffalo and how involved he plans to be with this project moving forward. Like I said, he is close with the governor. He's served in the state government and has worked alongside her. So I think that's a question for him. So Mayor-elect Ryan, we would love to have you on the ESP radio hour whenever you're available to come in studio or to call in and let us know. Do you mean just bike paths, or do you mean that black children also deserve a parkway, and do they deserve to live on a beautiful parkway?
I want to add to something that you said before, India, about the Halloween celebrations and the parades and stuff, and the joy and the energy that went into the election. And there's been so much garbage about how government is bad for you and whatever, that people have to remember that democracy is fun. I mean, that's energizing when you feel like you're with thousands of people and you're working all in the same direction for fairness, for equity. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had a wonderful quote about in this country we have socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. And that's just backwards. And there's no way that any human being is worth thousands and thousands of times more than any other human being. And if that's democratic socialism, count me in, you know.
I wish that we had time or platform, because like I said, I'm kind of rogue this week because no one else is here. But we have to have more conversations about capitalism, the extraction of wealth, resources, and labor from working class communities, from indigenous and Black and communities of color, and why we covet billionaires, right? Like, why were people's fears in Buffalo, even in New York City? Well, if we have a socialist mayor, then the millionaires and billionaires are going to flee the city. Like, why is it that people care more about billionaires, who are always going to be okay, than they do about people who are raising children who don't have health care, child care, transportation, food, and basics like that? So maybe we need to start doing like an after show or something, or maybe I'll do a Facebook Live and we can talk about this, because I think that there are lots of folks who are becoming a lot more curious about, you know, democratic socialists of America, democratic socialism, and just politics in general. And one of the things that I'm happiest about is that I saw a lot of people in Buffalo posting about the New York City race and sort of drawing those parallels between what happened in 2021 and 2025. But what I want to talk about is what we do moving forward, because we still have lots of work to do here.
You know, you should do like we had a Red, Black, and Green show. We come out every Wednesday at 7:30 to 8:30 in a live stream, and we had a sort of a big clientele backing us. It'd be something you need to do about your experiences. Buffalo, the election in Buffalo, and also your experience in New York City and the Madami.
Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, well, that's our time. We're celebrating this election, but we got work to do, right? It's not only about getting your candidate elected. It's about holding them accountable. So stay involved. Visit us on our social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Visit our website at www.eastsideparkwayscoalition.org. There you can donate. You can find our meeting schedule. We invite everyone to be participatory and be engaged in this process of restoring our beautiful parkway to its new and improved glory.
And they can call Mayor-elect Ryan and tell him or ask him or request that he support the full restoration of Humboldt Parkway. That's what we can do as a citizen, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
And the governor. We call the governors as well.
Call them all. Call the governor, call your council person, and tell them that you want to see a full restoration of the Humboldt Parkway. But more importantly, when it's time for public comment period and public involvement and public outreach and community outreach, make sure you come to the stakeholders meeting. Sign up to be a stakeholder. That link is also located on our website. And until next time, I'm India Walton. This has been Eastside Parkway's Radio Hour. And just stay grounded, stay hopeful, and take care of one another. Peace.
Serving Orchard Park, Lackawanna, Cheektowaga,